I stood outside her apartment, my hands shaking, my heart broken, with nowhere to go. She called me a burden, an extra mouth to feed. But life had a secret I never saw coming, and when it unfolded, it changed everything. Get ready, because this isn't just a story, it's a lesson in strength. My name was Evelyn Harper, and I was 60 years old when my world fell apart. I lived for my family, pouring every bit of my heart into my husband, Tom, and our daughter, Jessica. Every dinner I made, every holiday I planned, every penny I saved was for them. Tom passed 2 years ago, taken by a heart attack that came out of nowhere. It felt like someone ripped the ground from under me. But I still had Jessica, or so I thought. I sold our small house in Franklin, Tennessee, just outside Nashville. The memories were too heavy. Tom's laugh in the kitchen, his boots by the door. I couldn't stay. Jessica and her husband, Ryan, offered me a room in their apartment in Nashville. At least, Jessica did. Ryan barely looked at me when I arrived, his eyes glued to his phone. I tried to be invisible to not bother them. I stayed in my tiny room, cooked meals, cleaned, and ran errands, hoping to be useful. But Ryan had a way of making me feel like I didn't belong. His sighs when I spoke, his smirks when I offered to help. It was like I was a guest who'd overstayed. One night, everything broke. We sat at the dinner table, eating the lasagna I'd spent hours making, Jessica's favorite. The room was quiet, the kind of quiet that feels like a storm's coming. Ryan put down his fork and looked at me, his eyes cold. "Evelyn, we need to talk," he said. My stomach twisted. "This isn't working. You're not pulling your weight. We've got bills, and we can't keep feeding you." I froze, my fork halfway to my mouth. I turned to Jessica, waiting for her to say something, anything. She stared at her plate, her hands in her lap. "Jessica," I whispered. She wouldn't look at me. "Maybe it's better if you find your own place," she mumbled. "For everyone." My heart cracked. I didn't yell or cry. I just stood, walked to my room, and packed 2 bags. That was all I had left of my life. I left without a word, the door clicking shut behind me. Outside, the Nashville air was cold, biting through my thin coat. I stood on the sidewalk, my bags at my feet, and realized I had nowhere to go. Jessica didn't follow me. Ryan didn't care. I checked into a cheap motel off the highway, the kind with flickering lights and stained carpets. I lay on the lumpy bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering how my daughter could do this. I'd given her everything. My time, my love, my dreams. And now I was nothing to her. I sent Jessica a text that night. "I'm okay. I love you." No reply. I tried again a week later. Then a month. Silence. Each day felt heavier, like I was carrying a stone in my chest. I looked for jobs, anything to keep me going. But nobody wanted a 60-year-old widow with no recent work history. I applied at grocery stores, cafes, even a gas station. Overqualified, they said, or not a good fit. I knew what they meant. Too old. My savings were shrinking, and the motel was eating what little I had. I felt like I was disappearing, like the world had no place for me. One night, I sat on the floor, sorting through a box I'd brought from the house. It was all I had left. Old photos, Tom's watch, a few letters. At the bottom, I found something I didn't expect, a small, worn notebook. My mother's journal. I hadn't seen it in years, didn't even remember packing it. My hands shook as I opened it. Her handwriting was neat, just like the notes she used to leave in my lunchbox as a kid. I started reading, expecting memories of her garden or church. But then I found something else. An entry from years ago. He came today. Said he loved me but couldn't leave his family. Evelyn must never know. I pray she'll forgive me someday. My breath caught. I read on, page after page, about a man she never named, only called Jr. A man with a wife, a business, a secret. My mother wrote about me, her daughter, born from a mistake she carried in silence. I sat there, the notebook in my lap, my heart racing. I wasn't just Evelyn, the woman kicked out by her daughter. I was someone else, someone tied to a truth I never knew. If you want to hear more stories like this, subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts below. That night, I didn't sleep. I kept reading, each word pulling me deeper into a past I didn't understand. My mother wrote about a promise JR made. Something for me, hidden away. A name kept coming up. Mr. Carter, a lawyer in Knoxville. My hands shook as I wrote it down. I didn't know what it meant, but for the first time in months, I felt something besides pain. It wasn't hope, not yet. It was a spark, small but alive, telling me this wasn't the end. I had no idea what was coming, but I knew one thing. Jessica and Ryan thought they'd erased me. They were wrong. The motel room smelled of old coffee and damp carpet, but I didn't care. I sat on the floor, my mother's journal open in my lap, its pages yellowed and soft. My heart hurt, like someone was squeezing it tight. Every word I read felt like a piece of a puzzle I didn't know I was missing. My mother's secrets poured out. Her love for a man she couldn't have, her shame for what it meant for me. I cried, not loud, but the kind of crying that shakes your whole body. I wasn't just grieving for her. I was grieving for the life I thought I knew. I read until the sun came up, my eyes burning. My mother wrote about JR, how he'd visit her in secret, promising to take care of me. One entry hit me hard. Evelyn deserves more than I can give her. JR says there's a way, through Mr. Carter. I pray it's true. Mr. Carter's name appeared again and again, tied to a promise I didn't understand. I closed the journal and pressed it to my chest, like it could hold me together. I felt betrayed, not just by Jessica, but by my own past. Who was I, really? The question burned inside me, mixing with the pain of being thrown out like trash. I didn't leave the motel for days. The world outside felt too big, too cruel. I kept texting Jessica, hoping she'd answer. Just checking in. I miss you. Nothing. Each silence cut deeper, like she was erasing me one unanswered message at a time. I looked in the mirror one morning, my face tired and thin. You're still here, I whispered to myself, but I didn't believe it. I felt like a ghost, haunting my own life. The motel manager knocked one day, asking for payment. My savings were almost gone. I handed over what I had, my hands shaking. You okay, lady? He asked. I nodded, but I wasn't. I was falling apart, and nobody cared. I tried to find work again, dragging myself to job interviews. A diner needed a waitress, but the manager looked me up and down. You're a bit slow for this pace, he said, not even trying to be kind. A cleaning company turned me down too. We need younger folks, the woman said over the phone. I wanted to scream that I wasn't old, that I could still do things, but I didn't. I just hung up and sat on the motel bed, my head in my hands. The loneliness was worse than the rejection. I missed Tom's voice, his hand on my shoulder. I missed Jessica's laugh, the way she'd hug me as a kid. Now, I had nothing but a journal and a name. Mr. Carter. One night, I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed the journal and a pen, writing down every clue about Mr. Carter. My mother said he was a lawyer in Knoxville, tied to JR's business. I didn't have a computer, so I used the motel's old one in the lobby. My hands shook as I typed his name. After an hour, I found him. Daniel Carter, a retired lawyer, still listed at a small firm in Knoxville. My heart raced. This was real. I wrote a letter, pouring out everything. My mother's name, the journal, JR. I begged for a meeting, sealing the envelope with tears in my eyes. I mailed it the next day, my last bit of hope. Weeks passed, and I sank deeper. The motel became my prison, the hum of the air conditioner my only company. I stopped texting Jessica. It hurt too much to see her ignore me. I kept the journal by my bed, reading it over and over, like it could talk to me. One entry broke me. I told JR. I'm scared for Evelyn. He promised she'd be okay, even if I'm gone. I sobbed, wishing I could ask my mother why she hid this. Why she let me grow up thinking I was just her daughter. Nothing more. The pain was heavy, but it lit something inside me. A need to know the truth. Then the phone rang. I jumped, my heart pounding. Evelyn Hopper? A man's voice asked. It was Daniel Carter. I got your letter, he said, his voice soft but serious. We need to talk. I could barely speak. You knew my mother? I asked. He paused. Yes. And I know about you. My breath caught. He told me to come to Knoxville, that he had something for me. I didn't ask what. I just said yes, my voice shaking. I hung up and stared at the wall, my mind racing. This was it, the moment everything could change. I packed my bags, my hands steady for the first time in weeks. The journal went in first, wrapped in a scarf. I didn't have much money, but I bought a bus ticket to Knoxville. As the bus pulled away from Nashville, I looked out the window, the city fading behind me. I wasn't the same woman who'd stood on that sidewalk, broken and lost. I was scared, but I was moving toward something. Toward answers. Jessica and Ryan thought they'd won, that I was gone for good. But I was just beginning. The truth was out there, and I was going to find it, no matter what it cost me. The bus to Knoxville rattled along the highway, and I sat by the window, clutching my mother's journal like it was my lifeline. My heart felt heavy, torn between hope and fear. Every mile took me closer to answers, but also to a past I wasn't sure I wanted to face. I thought of Jessica, her silence louder than any words, and my chest ached. I was 60 years old, alone, chasing a stranger's promise, but something inside me refused to give up. The bus stopped in Knoxville just as the sun dipped low, painting the sky orange. I stepped off, my legs shaky, and walked to a small diner nearby. My stomach growled, but I only had enough for coffee. I sat at the counter, the journal in front of me, and traced my mother's handwriting with my finger. A waitress, maybe 40, smiled at me. "Rough day?" she asked. I nodded, my throat tight. "Rough year," I said softly. She poured me extra coffee, no charge, and I almost cried at the kindness. I hadn't felt seen in so long. "You'll be okay," she said, her voice warm. I wanted to believe her. I found a cheap motel, not much better than the last one, and called Daniel Carter to confirm our meeting. "Tomorrow 10 a.m., he said, his voice calm but heavy, like he knew something big was coming. "Bring the journal." I barely slept that night, my mind racing. What did he know? What did my mother hide? I kept seeing her face, the way she'd hum while cooking, never hinting at her secrets. I felt angry, betrayed, but I missed her so much it hurt. I whispered to the dark, "Why didn't you tell me?" No answer came. The next morning, I walked to Carter's office, a small brick building downtown. My hands shook as I pushed the door open. A receptionist led me to a room where an older man waited, his hair white but his eyes sharp. "Evelyn," he said, standing. "I'm Daniel Carter." I sat, clutching the journal, and he looked at it like it was something holy. "Your mother was a good woman," he started. "She carried a lot of pain." I swallowed hard. "What do you know?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. He sighed and pulled out a folder. "Your father wasn't the man who raised you," he said. My heart stopped. His name was James Robert Thornton. J.R. I stared at him, my mind spinning. The man my mother loved, the one she wrote about, was my real father. Carter kept talking, his words slow and careful. J.R. was a wealthy man, owned half of Knoxville's real estate, but married to someone else. My mother was his secret, and I was the result. "He wanted to protect you," Carter said. "He left something for you through me." I leaned forward, my heart pounding. "What?" I asked. He slid a document across the table. It was a trust, set up in my name, worth millions. I couldn't breathe. "This can't be real," I said, my voice shaking. Carter nodded. "It's real. But there's more." He told me J.R. owned properties, including the apartment building where Jessica and Ryan lived. My hands went cold. The place they'd kicked me out of, the place they called theirs, was tied to my real father. I laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. "They threw me out," I said, tears in my eyes. "My own daughter." Carter's face softened. "I know," he said. "Your mother wanted you to have this, to be safe." I cried then, not caring that he saw. I cried for my mother, for the life she hid, for the love she never got. I cried for me, for the woman who thought she was nothing. Carter gave me time, handing me a tissue. "What do you want to do?" he asked. I didn't know. The trust, the properties, it was too much. I felt small, like a child lost in a storm. But then I thought of Jessica's silence, Ryan's cruel words. I thought of standing on that sidewalk, my bags at my feet. Something shifted inside me. "Can I see the properties?" I asked. He nodded. We'll start tomorrow. I left his office, the journal under my arm, the document in my bag. The Knoxville air felt different, like it held possibilities I couldn't see before. That night, I sat in the motel, reading the trust papers. Numbers and legal words swam before my eyes, but one thing was clear. I wasn't nobody. I was Evelyn Harper, daughter of a man who left me a legacy. I thought of Jessica, how she let Ryan push me out. I thought of Ryan, his smirk as I left. My tears dried, and a new feeling grew, anger but sharper like a blade. I wasn't done. Not yet. I fell asleep with the journal open, my mother's words beside me, and dreamed of a building I'd never seen but already owned. I woke up in the Knoxville motel, my mother's journal still open on the bed. My eyes were sore from crying, but my heart felt different, like it was waking up after a long sleep. The trust papers sat on the table, proof that I wasn't the nobody Jessica and Ryan thought I was. I touched them, half expecting them to vanish. They didn't. For the first time in months, I felt a flicker of power, but it came with pain. I missed my daughter so much it hurt to breathe, yet I was angry. Angry at her silence, at Ryan's cruelty, at the life that kept knocking me down. I met Daniel Carter at his office that morning. He had a stack of files ready, each one tied to JR's properties. You own 6 buildings, he said, his voice steady. One's in Nashville. Your daughter's building. My stomach twisted. I saw Ryan's face, his cold eyes as he told me to leave. I saw Jessica, staring at her plate, letting it happen. Can I see it? I asked, my voice shaking. Carter nodded. I'll arrange a visit. But Evelyn, this is yours now. You decide what happens. His words hit me hard. Decide. I hadn't decided anything in years. My life was always about others. Tom, Jessica, even Ryan. Now it was about me. We drove to Nashville the next day. The building looked taller than I remembered, its brick walls catching the afternoon sun. I stood across the street, my heart pounding. This was where they'd thrown me out, where I'd stood with my bags, feeling worthless. Now I owned it. The thought was too big, like a wave I couldn't swim through. Carter stood beside me, quiet. You okay? He asked. I shook my head. I don't know what I am, I said. Tears stung my eyes. They broke me here. He put a hand on my shoulder. You're not broken, he said. You're standing. I wanted to believe him, but all I felt was hurt. Inside, the lobby smelled of bleach and old carpet. The manager, a man named Paul, showed us around. He didn't know who I was. Just thought I was some investor. Good tenants mostly, he said. Some complaints about rent, but nothing major. I nodded, barely listening. My eyes were on the hallway to Jessica's apartment. I wanted to knock, to see her face, to ask why she let Ryan do it. But I didn't. I wasn't ready. Instead, I asked Paul about the building's finances. He handed me reports, numbers that meant nothing to me yet. Carter whispered. You'll learn this, Evelyn. You're smart. I laughed, a sad sound. I'm just a widow who got kicked out, I said. He shook his head. You're more than that. Back in Knoxville, I pored over the files. The trust gave me money to live on, but the properties were the real power. I could sell them, keep them, or change everything. I kept thinking about Jessica's building. Part of me wanted to storm in, tell them I owned it, watch Ryan's face fall. But another part, the part that still loved my daughter, wanted to fix things, to understand why she turned away. I called her that night, my hands shaking. Jessica, it's Mom, I said to her voicemail. I just want to talk. No answer. I cried myself to sleep, the phone beside me, hoping it would ring. The next day, Carter took me to a business class at a community center. You need to understand what you own, he said. I felt out of place, surrounded by younger people with laptops and big dreams. The teacher talked about property management, taxes, and tenants. My head spun, but I took notes, my handwriting messy. A woman next to me, Sarah, saw me struggling. First time? She asked. I nodded. I just found out I own some buildings, I said. Her eyes widened. That's amazing, she said. You're gonna do great. Her kindness made my throat tight. I hadn't heard encouragement in so long. At night, I read the journal again. My mother wrote about JR's promises, how he wanted me to have a future. One line stopped me cold. Evelyn's stronger than she knows. I see it in her eyes. I touched the words, tears falling. Did she really see that? I didn't feel strong, not yet. But I was learning piece by piece. I started meeting with Carter daily, asking questions about the trust, the buildings, the law. He was patient, like he believed in me. One day, he showed me a letter from JR, written before he died. "Tell my daughter she's enough," it said. I sobbed, holding it, wishing I'd known him. Then Paul called. "There's a problem at the Nashville building," he said. "Some tenants aren't paying. One's causing trouble." I knew who he meant before he said it. "Ryan Thompson," he said. "He's late on rent and yelling at neighbors." My heart raced. Ryan, acting like he owned the place, when I held the power. I took a deep breath. "I'll handle it," I said, my voice steady. Carter looked at me, surprised. "You sure?" he asked. I nodded. "It's time." I didn't know what I'd do, but I knew I wasn't hiding anymore. Jessica and Ryan thought they'd erased me. They were about to learn how wrong they were. I sat in my Knoxville motel room, the phone still in my hand after Paul's call about Ryan. My heart pounded, a mix of anger and fear. I saw Ryan's face, his smirk as he told me I was a burden. I saw Jessica's eyes, avoiding mine, letting him push me out. The pain was sharp, like a knife in my chest, but something else was there too. A fire, small but growing. I wasn't the same woman who'd left their apartment, broken and lost. I owned that building now, and Ryan was about to find out what that meant. I called Carter the next morning, my voice steadier than I felt. "I want to go to Nashville," I said. "I need to see the building again." He paused. "You sure you're ready for this?" he asked. "No," I admitted, "but I'm going anyway." He agreed to drive me, and we left that afternoon. The highway stretched out, and I clutched my mother's journal, her words echoing in my mind. "Evelyn's stronger than she knows." I wanted to believe her, but my hands shook as we got closer. I wasn't just facing a building. I was facing my daughter, my pain, my past. When we reached the apartment building, the sun was setting, casting long shadows. I stood outside, my breath catching. This was where I'd hit my lowest, where I'd felt like nothing. Now I held the keys to it all. Carter stayed quiet, letting me take it in. "What do you want to do?" he asked. I didn't answer right away. I walked to the entrance, my heart racing, and stepped inside. The lobby was the same, bleach and old carpet, but it felt different. I wasn't a guest anymore. Paul met us, looking nervous. "Ryan's been loud again," he said. "Threatened another tenant." I nodded, my jaw tight. "Where is he?" I asked. Paul pointed to the third floor. Jessica's floor. I took the elevator, Carter behind me. My stomach twisted as we reached their door. I wanted to knock to see Jessica, to beg her to talk to me. But I stopped myself. Not yet. Instead, I told Paul to call a tenant meeting tomorrow. "Everyone needs to know there's a new owner," I said. Paul raised an eyebrow but nodded. Carter looked at me, his eyes searching. "You're changing," he said softly. I didn't respond. I didn't know what I was becoming, but I felt it, a shift, like a tide turning inside me. That night, I stayed in a small hotel in Nashville, too tired to go back to Knoxville. I sat on the bed, the journal open, reading my mother's words again. She wrote about JR, how he loved her but left her alone. "I kept Evelyn safe," she wrote. "That's all that matters." Tears fell, hot and heavy. I missed her so much, but I was angry too. Why didn't she tell me? Why let me live a lie? I thought of Jessica, her silence, her betrayal. Was I like my mother, hiding my pain, letting others decide my worth? The thought hurt, but it woke me up. I wasn't hiding anymore. The next morning, I dressed carefully, choosing a simple blouse and slacks. I looked in the mirror, my face older, tired, but my eyes were different. Sharper, alive. I met Carter at the building, where tenants gathered in the community room. Paul introduced me, his voice unsure. "This is Evelyn Hopper, the new owner." Whispers spread. I saw Ryan in the back, his arms crossed, smirking. Jessica sat beside him, her head down. My heart broke seeing her, but I stood tall. "I'm here to make changes," I said, my voice clear. "Rent's going up. Rules will be stricter. No more trouble." Ryan laughed, loud and mean. "Who's this old lady?" he said. The room went quiet. I looked at him, my hands steady. "I'm the one who owns your home," I said. His smirk faded. Jessica's eyes met mine, wide with shock. I wanted to run to her, to hold her, but I didn't. I kept talking, laying out new rules, my voice calm but firm. Tenants nodded, some smiling, others nervous. Ryan stood, his face red. "You can't do this," he shouted. I didn't flinch. "I already have," I said. He stormed out, Jessica following, her face pale. My heart ached, but I didn't chase her. Carter touched my arm. "You did good," he said. I nodded, but inside I was shaking. I'd faced them, but it didn't feel like a win. It felt like losing Jessica all over again. Back at the hotel, I cried, the kind of crying that leaves you empty. I called Jessica, leaving another voicemail. "I'm sorry it's like this," I said. "I love you." No answer. I opened the journal, needing my mother's words. One line stood out. Asterisk strength isn't loud. It's quiet, like a river carving stone. Asterisk I closed my eyes, letting it sink in. I was that river now, slow but unstoppable. Ryan thought he could scare me. Jessica thought I was gone. But I was just getting started. Tomorrow, I'd take the next step, whatever it was. I wasn't afraid anymore. I sat alone in the Nashville hotel room, the silence heavy after the tenant meeting. My heart ached for Jessica, her shocked eyes burned into my mind. I'd stood tall in that room, claiming my power, but it didn't fill the hole she left. I wanted my daughter back, not this war with her and Ryan. Tears fell as I held my mother's journal, its pages worn from my touch. I felt her strength in those words, but also her pain. I was living both now, and it was tearing me apart. The next morning, I woke with a knot in my stomach. My phone showed no messages, no missed calls. Jessica hadn't reached out. I stared at the screen, willing it to light up, but it stayed dark. I thought of her as a little girl, holding my hand, laughing at my silly songs. Where was that girl now? I wiped my eyes and called Carter. "What's next?" I asked, my voice raw. "You've got options," he said. "You can manage the building, sell it, or let someone else run it." I didn't know what I wanted, but I knew I couldn't walk away. Not yet. Carter met me at a coffee shop near the building. He brought more papers, tenant complaints, mostly about Ryan. "He's been bullying people," Carter said, his face serious. "Threatening them over parking, noise, anything." My hands clenched. Ryan's cruelty wasn't just to me, it was to everyone. I thought of the tenants, people like me, just trying to live. "I want him out," I said, surprising myself. Carter raised an eyebrow. "Eviction's tricky," he said. "But we can start the process." I nodded, my heart racing. This wasn't just about me anymore. I walked to the building alone, needing to feel it again. The lobby was quiet, the air thick with tension. I rode the elevator to Jessica's floor, my chest tight. I stood outside their door, my hand raised to knock, but I froze. What would I say? "I love you, but I'm taking your home?" "I'm sorry, but Ryan's done?" My hand dropped, and I turned away, tears burning my eyes. I wasn't ready to face her, not like this. Instead, I went to Paul's office. "File the eviction papers for Ryan," I said. He looked nervous. "He's trouble, ma'am," he warned. "I know," I said. "That's why he's going." That night, I sat with the journal, reading my mother's words. She wrote about JR's promises, how he wanted me to have a future. "I hid the truth to protect her," she wrote. "I pray she understands." I cried, not just for her, but for Jessica. Was I protecting her by doing this? Or was I pushing her further away? I didn't know, but I couldn't stop. Ryan's cruelty had to end, even if it broke my heart. I called Jessica again, my voice shaking. "Please, honey, talk to me," I said to her voicemail. "I'm doing this for us." The silence that followed felt like a slap. The next day, Carter called with news. Ryan's been served the eviction notice, he said. He's angry. Be careful. My stomach dropped. I knew Ryan wouldn't go quietly. I went to the building, my hands shaky. Paul met me, his face pale. Ryan's upstairs yelling, he said. I took a deep breath and went up, Carter following. Ryan stood in the hallway, shouting at a neighbor, his face red. Jessica was behind him, her arms crossed, looking scared. Ryan, stop, I said, my voice firm. He turned, his eyes narrowing. You, he spat. You think you can kick me out? I stood my ground. I know I can, I said. This is my building. Jessica gasped, her hand over her mouth. Ryan stepped closer, his voice low. You're nothing, he said. Just an old woman with a grudge. My heart pounded, but I didn't back down. I'm the owner, I said. And you're done here. He laughed, mean and sharp, but I saw fear in his eyes. Jessica grabbed his arm. Ryan, let's go, she whispered. He shook her off, glaring at me. This isn't over, he said, storming past. Jessica looked at me, tears in her eyes, then followed him. My knees shook, but I didn't fall. I'd faced him, and I was still standing. Back at the hotel, I sat on the bed, my body trembling. I felt strong but so alone. I opened the journal, needing my mother. Strength is doing what's right, even when it hurts, she wrote. I closed my eyes, letting her words sink in. I was hurting, but I was right. Ryan couldn't hurt people anymore. But Jessica, my Jessica, was slipping away. I prayed she'd see why I was doing this. If you're loving this story, subscribe for more like it. I wasn't done fighting, not for the building, not for my daughter. The next step was coming, and I'd be ready. The Nashville hotel room felt smaller after facing Ryan, like the walls were closing in on my heart. I sat on the bed, my hands still shaking from the confrontation. Jessica's tearful eyes haunted me, her silence louder than Ryan's threats. I wanted to hold her, to tell her I was fighting for us, but she'd walked away with him. My mother's journal lay beside me, its pages a lifeline to a strength I was still finding. I was 60 years old, standing taller than ever, but the pain of losing my daughter cut deeper than any victory. I didn't sleep that night. I kept seeing Jessica's face, the way she used to smile when I braided her hair as a kid. Where was that girl now? I picked up the phone, my fingers hovering over her number. I wanted to call, to beg her to listen, but I stopped. She needed to come to me. Instead, I opened the journal, my mother's words pulling me in. I gave Evelyn everything I had, she wrote. I hope it's enough. Tears fell, hot and heavy. I wished I could tell her it was, that I was trying to be the woman she believed in. The next morning, Carter called. Ryan's fighting the eviction, he said. He's got a lawyer. My stomach sank, but I wasn't surprised. Ryan was too proud to go quietly. What do we do? I asked. We fight back, Carter said. You've got the law on your side. I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. I wasn't just fighting for the building. I was fighting for every tenant he'd bullied, every moment he'd made me feel small. But most of all, I was fighting for Jessica, hoping she'd see the truth. I went to the building, needing to be there. Paul met me, his face tense. Ryan's been talking to tenants, he said. Telling them you're unfair, raising rent to hurt people. My blood boiled. Ryan was twisting my actions, making me the villain. I walked the halls, talking to tenants myself. A young mother, Emily, stopped me. Is it true you're tripling rent? She asked, her voice scared. I shook my head. No, I said. I'm fixing things, starting with troublemakers. She nodded, relieved. Ryan's been awful, she said. Thank you. Her words warmed me, but they didn't ease the ache for Jessica. That afternoon, I saw Jessica outside the building, alone. My heart leapt. I walked toward her, my voice soft. Jess, can we talk? She looked up, her eyes red from crying. Why are you doing this, Mom? She asked, her voice breaking. You're tearing us apart. My throat tightened. I'm not, I said. Ryan's hurting people. Jess. He hurt me. She shook her head. He's my husband, she said. I love him. Those words stabbed me, but I kept going. You're my daughter, I said. I love you more than anything. She looked away, tears falling. I can't, she whispered, then walked off. I stood there, frozen, my heart in pieces. Back at the hotel, I cried until I had no tears left. I felt like I was losing her for good. I opened the journal, needing my mother. Love is letting go, even when it breaks you, she wrote. I didn't want to let go, but Jessica was choosing Ryan. I had to keep going, for me, for the tenants, for the woman my mother believed I was. I called Carter. What's next with Ryan? I asked. We're filing for a hearing, he said. It'll be soon. I took a deep breath. Good, I said. I'm ready. The next day, I went to the business class again, my notebook full of questions. Sarah, the woman from before, sat beside me. You look different, she said, smiling. Stronger. I laughed, a sad sound. I don't feel strong, I said. She touched my arm. You are, she said. I can tell. Her belief in me was a lifeline, pulling me forward. I learned more about managing properties, my mind soaking it up. I wasn't just Evelyn, the kicked-out widow. I was Evelyn, the owner, the fighter. Then Paul called, his voice urgent. Ryan's causing a scene, he said. He's in the lobby yelling about you. My heart raced. I rushed to the building, Carter with me. Ryan stood there, shouting to a small crowd. This woman's a liar, he yelled. She's stealing our home. I stepped forward, my voice calm but loud. I'm the owner, I said. And you're breaking the rules. The crowd murmured. Ryan's face twisted. You'll regret this, he hissed. I looked at him, unafraid. No, I said. You will. Jessica wasn't there, but I felt her absence like a weight. I'd won this round, but the fight wasn't over. I was ready for whatever came next. I stood in the Nashville building's lobby, Ryan's angry words still ringing in my ears. The tenants had dispersed, but their whispers lingered, heavy with tension. My heart felt like it was splitting, half burning with the strength I'd found, half breaking for Jessica. I saw her face in my mind, tear-streaked and torn, choosing Ryan over me. I wanted to chase her, to pull her back into my arms, but I stayed still. My mother's journal was in my bag, its weight a reminder of the woman I was becoming, even if it hurt. Back at the hotel, I sat on the bed, too tired to move. The silence was loud, filled with Jessica's absence. I pulled out the journal, needing my mother's voice. Strength is choosing what's right, even when it's lonely, she wrote. I traced the words, tears falling. I was lonely, more than I'd ever been. I missed Tom, his steady hand in mine. I missed Jessica, her giggles from years ago. I even missed the old me, the one who thought love was enough. But I wasn't that woman anymore. I was Evelyn Harper, and I had a fight to finish. Carter called the next morning, his voice calm but firm. The eviction hearing's in 3 days, he said. Ryan's lawyer is pushing hard, but we're ready. I nodded, my throat tight. What if Jessica's there? I asked. He paused. You'll handle it, he said. You always do. His faith in me was a spark, but fear crept in. Facing Ryan was one thing. Facing my daughter in a courtroom, knowing she hated me, was another. I spent the day preparing with Carter, going over papers, learning the law. My mind was sharp, but my heart was heavy. I went to the building that afternoon, needing to feel its walls, its reality. Paul greeted me, his eyes kind. Tenants are talking, he said. They're glad you're standing up to Ryan. I smiled, but it didn't reach my heart. I walked the halls, passing Jessica's door. My hand twitched, wanting to knock, but I kept walking. A tenant, an older man named George, stopped me. You're doing good, he said. Ryan scared my wife. We feel safer now. His words hit me hard. This wasn't just my fight. It was theirs too. I nodded, my eyes wet. Thank you, I said, my voice soft. That night, I sat with the journal, reading my mother's pain, her love for me. Evelyn's my light, she wrote. I hope she finds hers. I cried, wishing I could tell her I was trying. I thought of Jessica, how she was my light once. I called her, my hands shaking. Jess, it's Mom, I said to her voicemail. I'm not giving up on us. Please just talk to me. The silence after hurt worse than Ryan's words. I fell asleep clutching the journal, dreaming of my mother's smile, Jessica's laugh, a life I couldn't reach. The next day, I went to the business class, my notebook full. Sarah sat beside me, her smile warm. "You're glowing," she said. I laughed, a tired sound. "I'm falling apart," I said. She shook her head. "No, you're building something new." Her words stayed with me, like a hug I didn't know I needed. I learned more about property laws, my mind soaking it up. I wasn't just fighting Ryan. I was learning to stand on my own, to be someone new. Then Paul called, his voice shaking. "Jessica came by," he said. "She left something for you." My heart leapt. I rushed to the building, hope and fear twisting inside me. Paul handed me an envelope, my name written in Jessica's handwriting. I opened it, my hands unsteady. Inside was a note. "Mom, I'm sorry. I don't know what to do. Ryan's so angry, and I'm scared." My heart broke, but it soared too. She'd reached out. I called her, my voice desperate. "Jess, I'm here," I said to her voicemail. "You don't have to be scared." No answer, but the note was enough. She was still my daughter, and she was reaching back. I met Carter that evening, the note in my pocket. "Jessica wrote to me," I said, my voice thick. He smiled, his eyes kind. "That's a start," he said. "Focus on the hearing. Ryan's the problem, not her." I nodded, but my mind was on Jessica's words. She was scared, and I was her mother. I'd protect her, even if it meant breaking my own heart. The hearing was coming, and with it, a chance to end Ryan's hold. I wasn't afraid anymore. I was ready to fight, not just for me, but for my daughter, for the tenants, for the woman my mother knew I could be. If you're gripped by this story, subscribe for more like it. The battle was near, and I wasn't backing down. Jessica's note was like a lifeline, tucked in my pocket as I walked into the Nashville courthouse. My heart pounded, torn between hope and dread. The eviction hearing was today, and Ryan would be there. Maybe Jessica too. I clutched my mother's journal in my bag, her words my armor. I was 60, fighting for my daughter, my tenants, myself. Every step felt heavy, but I kept going. I wasn't the woman Ryan kicked out anymore. I was Evelyn Harper, and I was ready. Carter met me outside the courtroom, his face calm. "You've got this," he said, squeezing my arm. I nodded, but my stomach twisted. Inside, the room was cold, the judge's bench looming. Ryan sat with his lawyer, his jaw tight, no smirk today. Jessica was beside him, her eyes on the floor. My heart ached to see her, so close but so far. I wanted to run to her to hold her, but I sat beside Carter, my hands steady. The judge called the case, and Ryan's lawyer started, painting me as a greedy owner raising rent to hurt tenants. I listened, my chest tight, but I didn't flinch. Carter stood, his voice clear. "Evelyn Harper inherited this property," he said. "She's protecting her tenants from a man who's bullied them for years." He showed proof, tenant complaints, police reports about Ryan's threats. The judge nodded, her face unreadable. Ryan's lawyer argued back, but I could tell he was losing. Then the judge looked at me. "Ms. Harper, why raise the rent?" she asked. I took a deep breath, my voice soft but firm. "To fix the building," I said. "To make it safe. Ryan's the problem, not me." The room was quiet. Jessica looked up, her eyes meeting mine, full of tears. Ryan exploded, jumping up. "She's lying," he shouted. "She's just mad we kicked her out." The judge banged her gavel, warning him. I stayed calm, my heart racing. "I'm not mad," I said, looking at him. "I'm done with you." The judge ruled in my favor. Ryan had 30 days to leave. He cursed, storming out. Jessica stayed, frozen, then followed him. My heart broke, but I didn't chase her. I'd won, but it felt hollow without her. Outside, Carter hugged me. "You were amazing," he said. I smiled, but tears fell. "I lost her," I whispered. He shook his head. "She's not gone. Give her time." I wanted to believe him, but the pain was raw. I went to the building, kneading its walls. Paul greeted me, his face proud. "Tenants are happy," he said. "They're calling you a hero." I laughed, a sad sound. "I'm no hero," I said. I'm just a mom. I walked the halls, stopping at Jessica's door. I slid her note under it with a message. Asterisk I love you. Always. Asterisk my tears fell as I walked away. That night, I sat in the hotel, the journal open. My mother wrote about JR's death, how it broke her. I kept going for Evelyn, she wrote. She's my reason. I cried, missing her, missing Jessica. I was fighting like my mother did, but it hurt so much. I went to the business class the next day. Sarah's smile waiting. You won, didn't you? She asked. I nodded, my throat tight. Doesn't feel like it, I said. She hugged me. It will, she said. Her warmth kept me going. Then my phone rang. It was Jessica. My heart stopped. Mom, she said, her voice small. Can we talk? I nearly dropped the phone. Tears streaming. Yes, I said. Anytime. She was quiet, then said, I'm leaving Ryan. My heart soared, but I heard her pain. I'm here, I said. I'll always be here. She cried and so did I. It wasn't fixed, but it was a start. If you're loving this story, subscribe for more. I wasn't done, there was one more step, and I'd take it for Jessica, for me, for the woman I'd become. Jessica's call changed everything. I sat in the hotel, my heart full of hope and hurt, waiting to meet her. I held my mother's journal, its pages worn from my touch. I'd fought for my daughter, my tenants, my life, and now I was here, 60 years old, ready to rebuild what was broken. The pain of the past, Ryan's cruelty, Jessica's silence, still lingered, but I felt stronger, like a river my mother wrote about, carving stone. This wasn't the end. It was a new beginning. I met Jessica at a small diner in Nashville, my hands shaking as I walked in. She sat in a corner booth, her face pale, her eyes red. I slid in across from her, my heart pounding. Jess, I said, my voice soft. She looked up, tears falling. I'm sorry, Mom, she said. I was wrong. My throat tightened, and I reached for her hand. I'm sorry too, I said. I just wanted to protect you. We cried, holding each other's hands, the years of love between us stronger than the hurt. She told me about Ryan, how his anger scared her, how she felt trapped. I'm done with him, she said. My heart broke for her pain, but I was proud. She was choosing herself. We talked for hours, the diner emptying around us. I told her about the journal, my mother, JR, the trust. Her eyes widened. You own our building? She asked. I nodded, a small smile breaking through. Yeah, I said. And I'm not done with it. She laughed, a sound I hadn't heard in so long. It warmed me like sunlight. I told her I was selling the building, using the money to help tenants and a local shelter. You taught me to care, Mom, she said. I cried, holding her close. I hadn't lost her. She was still my light. I worked with Carter to sell the building, meeting buyers, signing papers. It was hard, letting go of something that gave me power, but it felt right. The sale went through, and I set up a fund for the tenants, helping people like Emily and George. I gave half to a shelter for women like me, women the world forgot. Jessica helped, her smile brighter each day. She moved into a small apartment, starting over. I did too, renting a place in Knoxville, close enough to visit. We weren't fixed, but we were healing. I kept going to the business class, learning more, dreaming bigger. Sarah became a friend, her laughter a gift. One day, she asked about my mother. I showed her the journal, reading a line. Asterisk Evelyn's my heart. She'll shine. Asterisk Sarah smiled. She was right, she said. I nodded, tears in my eyes. I was shining, not loud, but quiet, like my mother's river. I wasn't just a widow, a mother, an owner. I was Evelyn, whole and strong. Months later, Jessica and I sat in my new home, a small house with a garden. We drank coffee, laughing about old times. I'm proud of you, Mom, she said. My heart swelled. I'm proud of you, I said. We'd come so far, through pain and betrayal, to this. I still read the journal, but it didn't hurt anymore. It was a bridge to my mother, to the strength she gave me. I forgave her, and I forgave myself. The moral of my story is simple. Strength isn't in anger or revenge. It's in love, in standing up, in rebuilding what's broken. I was kicked out, called a burden, but I rose. I found my power, not in owning a building, but in owning myself. Jessica learned it too, choosing her own path. If you're moved by this story, subscribe for more. I wasn't the fire Ryan tried to put out. I was the spark he never saw coming, and that spark changed everything.